Richard, we just got through talking with Zack Hawker, and we brought up the fact that he was committed at one time to go to Arkansas State, got a late offer from Hawaii, but finally ended up getting a Razorback offer. What do you remember about his recruitment, man?
Yeah, I remember that quite well. Not exactly. I just remember talking to him. I believe it was after his official visit to Hawaii. He was on his way back or something, and that's when Arkansas extended the offer. Mm-hmm. And during the whole time when he was committed to Arkansas State, I always kind of thought it was a possibility he could get a late offer, and I just kind of, told him, stay positive, and obviously it happened, and the rest was history. But I just remember, if I'm not mistaken, that he was coming back from Hawaii, and before that, I was kidding with him, going to Hawaii on an official visit. Good gosh, what could you more could you ask for?
Now, your memory's ironclad, man. That's exactly how he said it went down. So what kind of reminded me a little bit, Richard, I think we had this conversation a couple weeks ago, Drew Morgan had a similar type of recruitment process. It looked like he was going up to Jonesboro and then got a late offer from Arkansas. Do you see any similarities there, man?
Well, I mean, just because they obviously had very good careers, and Arkansas has a history of late offers panning out. Not all of them do, obviously, but in Zach's and Drew's case, it obviously did. And I think Auburn was involved too with Drew. I think Auburn extended a late offer, and I know that was I think something that maybe caught the eye of Arkansas too. So and then obviously Coach Bielema was just coming in and trying to know all the kids in state and all that, and I think he was won over by Drew's desire and personality, and thought that he could be a player, and obviously he was.
Richard, I guess the big news everyone's talked about this week is the meeting in Birmingham. We're all supposed to be in Atlanta at SEC Media Days, and that's not the meeting anyone was at, and we knew that for a while. The big meeting was the ADs going to Birmingham and meeting. Not much came out of that till yesterday when we found out volleyball and cross country and soccer were going to be delayed till August 31st. That wasn't the news we were waiting on. They're going to take a prudent approach. What's your reaction? What's your thoughts? What do you think ultimately is going to happen over the next few weeks? Is it looks like in a couple of weeks at the end of the month, the league is going to make some kind of decision about how they move forward with football?
It sounds like if the trends nationally continue to go up as far as the case numbers, it's just kind of tough to I guess say, hey, let's go play football. It's just all the momentum seems to be going towards not having a season in the fall and maybe trying to do something in the spring. I mean, at the same time, maybe the trends will change. I really haven't noticed because I don't go grocery shopping that much, but seeing some of the people talk on Twitter and talk on Facebook, it seems like maybe people are starting to take this a little bit more serious and wearing masks, because I'm seeing people say, well, a few weeks ago, you only saw about 20-30% of people, in a grocery store, in a shopping center or whatever, with mask on, and they said it was quite a bit more, maybe 80% or even 100%. I don't know if that's true or not, but if the trend is going up as far as people wearing masks, maybe that the number of cases go down over the next few weeks and month, and maybe that could kind of get the momentum swinging the other way. I don't know. It's right now. Obviously, it just seems like that it's not looking good.
I'd agree. Just in my very limited experience of being out and going a few places, I do think people wearing masks are up to some degree. It's certainly not 100%. I think people are still surprised. I was having a conversation. All we heard for months, well, when the heat of summer gets here, this will die out. And Richard, we're seeing just the opposite. The heat of summer's here, and it's flourishing.
You know, Tommy, I mean, in our lifetime, we've obviously been spoiled. We've been able to do whatever we wanted all of our lives and not ever had to worry about anything like this. And when it comes, it takes, I think it takes an extreme to maybe get people's attention to where, you know, maybe wearing these masks isn't such a bad idea, and maybe it's really needed. You have so many people and that are, you know, reluctant because of, you know, the thought of, you know, it's my freedom to do whatever I want to do. Well, I tell you what, when the way I look at it, 2, 3, 4 years from now, we'll be able to look back on all of this, and we'll know what the medical experts got right. We'll know what they got wrong. But right now, we don't know. And until then, I'm going to do whatever they suggest, and I'm going to wear a mask, not only just for me, but out of respect for others. And I don't understand why people have such a hard time with that.
Talking with Richard Davenport here all in the Morning Rush. Richard, I know Arkansas football were posting pictures of Sam Pittman, Felipe Franks, Bumper Pool, and Rakeem Boyd. Just kind of the questions you have surrounding coaches being back in practice and just kind of what you think is going to go on the next couple weeks with Arkansas football.
I think they're doing a lot of praying. Just hoping to have a football season, man. And just, you know, right now you don't hear much coming out of the camp. Hear bits and pieces, but you I guess the thing that I look at is the number of cases at other programs, and you see what Kentucky, they didn't have any out of the whole football staff and players, and then you see others where they have, you know, several cases. So, you know, right now I'm sure the college coaches are preaching to the players at all campuses. You know, be wise. Do the right thing. Don't be in big crowds. But you're talking to 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who feel like that they can, you know, nothing can touch them. I think it's going to be very difficult to convince them to do what's being asked, because it's just not in their DNA, because hey, they're so young.
Richard, we were joking with Governor Hutchinson yesterday, talking about the rise in millennials, and I was joking with him, well, I fall in that bonehead 25-year-old category. And what I've said from the jump, kind of like you were saying, is yes, we have this invincibility factor that we think we are in that case, and I don't think anything could hurt me. But what I will say is that I'm wary of potentially infecting a coworker or my family members and stuff. So I think, do you think the coaches and whether it's coming from the SEC office or whatever, do you think they're doing a good enough job explaining to young people, not just student athletes, but young people across the country, how it's not just about you, how you affect the people around you as well?
You know, I saw that video or that tweet from the SEC office with the head coaches wearing masks and trying to get that out there. I don't know if we're doing a good enough job, SEC, society in general, letting people know it's not just about you and how it impacts you, how it can impact others, and how you can infect others. And there's numerous cases. You know, you hear numerous cases where a younger person got infected and then infected an elderly person. That elderly person passed away. But at the same time, it's just I don't know if that's out there as much as it should. Just to say it's not just about you, but it's around the people that your loved ones and other people that you're around, family members. And you know, I don't. When I say 18, 19, 20, and the millennials or whatever, I get it. I get it. I mean, when I was that age, you probably couldn't tell me much of nothing. So,
yeah. Hey, last week we had David Patrick, the new associate head coach for Eric Musselman, on the show. Really impressed with him and our conversation with him. Sounds like he's going to be not only a great addition to the tactical and technical coaching, but also the recruiting side of things as well. What have you learned as we've went through this last week or so, and what are you hearing, if anything, at this point? Because obviously he's had very limited effect on recruiting at this point. But what have you learned about his recruiting history at this point and the other places he's been?
Well, he's somebody that seems to be able to really connect with the kids on a personal level. He finds out the connections that they may have through a former player, or former coach, or there's so many connections out there that you don't think about until you start talking to a kid, and then you realize, I know this person, and then you find that connection. And I think he's very good at that, from what I understand, from what I'm hearing. He's just a guy that just doesn't I guess, say everything that you want to hear, and he just knows how to just communicate with a 17, 18-year-old kid and gain that trust. And we talk about this all the time. That's what it is. It's all about gaining trust of young men and their parents. And I think in just seeing some of the interviews, he's just a likable guy, and I think that goes a long ways in recruiting too.
We're talking about, like, with Arkansas basketball and stuff, and you think about with Eric Musselman. Richard, did you catch the story from Brian Bennett of The Athletic and what he did with the I don't know if Jenkins here is a big fan of UFC or whatever. Is that UFC? What is that? Am I saying that wrong?
Are you talking about The Undertaker?
Yeah. What is that?
That's called WWE.
Did
partner.
you see that, the clip where he talked about in The Athletic story about how he used that as motivation reviving?
Yeah, I heard about that, and I remember that during the season. I think that was on Coach Muss's show too.
Yeah,
and I think they had lost 4 consecutive games, and I think it was just a good way to make a point. Yeah, we're down a little bit, but we're not out. And also, when you're in the midst of a 4-game losing streak, you're all the coaching staff, the players, everybody, fans, everybody's frustrated. And then you do something like that. I think it kind of lightens a mood, but at the same time makes the point that, hey, we can turn this around. We're not dead yet.
The only thing I'm surprised about is he didn't bring an actual coffin in. That's the only. I'm surprised he didn't go all in and have Colby Berna out there bring an actual coffin in from Berna Funeral and actually rise from a real coffin. That's the
yeah, but what would have happened if you had about 13 players running out of the locker room and some of them get hurt? Hey, you bring in a casket to anywhere I am, man, that's going to freak me out. And then obviously somebody. I wish they would have probably put somebody else in there.
Well, that Muss usually goes all in on things. That's the only thing surprising he didn't do. Is just actually go all in on that deal. So.
What's up with all the details, Coach Muss?
He missed a very important one there.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Would have loved to just see that. I know they were posting stuff on social media after of him doing that, but would have loved to see him, as Tommy referred to, actually be in the casket or have, like, Riley Hall or one of the other assistants just in there and then pop out.
What Kim English would have thought of that.
Yeah, I probably would have hated it. Probably would have hated it. So, Richard Davenport of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette joins us every Thursday, kind enough to join us a little earlier this week on a Wednesday. Richard, we really appreciate it, man. We will talk to you in a week and a day, dude.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Yeah, I like the idea of potentially of Muss. Maybe he'll do that if they have a losing streak this upcoming season. Maybe he'll take it up a notch and go in the casket this upcoming season.
Can you imagine the reaction of I mean, and that's one you would that would have great impact, obviously, but. Yeah, that'd be something, right?
Quite entertaining for sure.
So